You recently posted on Facebook
God.
your version of the Sydney Sweeney thing. You said you beat her to it. What's the reaction been?
Well, it depends. If we're talking about my mom, horror.
She was displeased. Yes.
Horror.
What
Well,
was
no,
her
she was just
reaction?
confused. It was, look, I mean, my mom, as you know, is very smart. She certainly understands satire and sarcasm when she
Yeah.
sees it, but not in this case.
No, it was just gone. Yeah, it was.
Well, she just, she's not following the headlines like most people do. She never heard of Sydney Sweeney, and she didn't really pay any attention. She knew there was a story out there about some outrageous advertisement, but that's all that landed. I used to do a lot more of this kind of thing, usually after a couple of pops late at night, I would just say, something, what really is Facebook for anymore, except, where older people go to mouth off. and I just, there were a couple things going on. You know what? If you really want to unpack this, I'm happy to, but because it's short, maybe I should just read what I wrote so people know what I'm talking about.
I don't see why not.
All right. Well, for context, 14, 15 years ago, my mom and I appeared in a PSA, technically for the American Cancer Society. My mom, as you know, is a breast cancer survivor.
God bless her.
And I was working for Lee at the time, which is also
Jeans.
Wrangler. Yeah, Lee Jeans. And so we had just filmed some commercials, and they were going pretty well. And the woman over there said, look, Lee does this thing every year called National Denim Day, and we've raised like $83 million for breast cancer research. And every year we have a celebrity ambassador. Like the year before it was, I think, like Felicity Huffman,
Okay.
Anyway, I mean, why not? I mean, it's a great cause, but I had conditions, and I told them, look, I want to have some fun with this thing. Nobody wants a boring PSA. So I had just read an article about gene therapy and how the ultimate cure for breast cancer, according to a bunch of scientists, was going to be rooted in the fact that this gene research was going to unlock some kind of solution. It was big news. And I was like, well, gene therapy and your Lee genes. And so what if we just came at this from the point of view of a donation to the American Cancer Society in the amount of the cost of a pair of jeans that you're about to buy that, let's face it, you don't really need. Why don't you donate that instead? Well, they loved it. And I loved it because it was like, rather than go on, it's just like, don't buy another pair of jeans from Lee. Instead, take the 60 or 70 bucks or whatever it was and help us cure this terrible disease once and for all. And they said, fine. And then I said, I want to do it in my underpants.
Now, why did you say that?
Well, because I wanted to stand in front of the camera in my boxers holding a pair of Lee jeans in my hand, so I could show the jeans to the camera and say, for the cost of this pair of jeans, right, you can help us get to a cure. And they said, oh, it's pretty cheeky. So you'd be like what kind of underwear? I'm like, well, they'd be boxers. I'm not going to wear, a banana hammock. It's a respectable thing. And I said, okay. So they sign off on that. And then I said, and I want my mom in the spot. I'm like, why? Why do you want your mother? I'm like, because she's a breast cancer survivor and she's very good on camera. And they said, is she? Is she really? And I said, yes, because we had done some of those Viva commercials.
Commercials, yeah, sure.
And some other stuff, too. So I was like, look, trust me, she'll be great. Anyway, we filmed this, and it goes on the air.
She was great.
And she was terrific.
Really great, yeah.
So now Sydney Sweeney comes out, and everybody's talking about jeans versus jeans. And for those of you like my mom who aren't paying attention, you know what, Chuck? You describe it. What is the fallout and the blowback and the drama?
There have been so many people who have commented on it, and they're using words like a dog whistle to Nazism. I mean, Nazism. A blonde hair, blue-eyed female, who's shapely. And this is, it's just a front for eugenics. And like American Eagle was trying to deliberately say something kind about eugenics, the Fuhrer, and white supremacy.
Right. Which is just so insane on its face.
Yeah. Particularly if you know anything about advertising.
Right.
Because sex sells, and it has for a long time. And there's a long history of commercials that are very similar to
You know what doesn't sell?
What?
The master race.
Right.
People hate that. No one's going to do that. No one is going to intentionally link their product to the Third Reich or stormtroopers or any of this stuff. But what I think happened, and forgive me if you guys are already up to speed, but I reckon my mom's not the only one. So just
okay.
What I think happened is this ad came out, and a lot of people were sort of, I don't know, scandalized in the same way they were, years ago when Brooke Shields came out with the same basic ad, except this time it wasn't about, oh, that's salacious and sexy. It was like, hey, that's a love letter to something evil. And so a couple of nut jobs on the internet made this point, and then something happened that wouldn't have happened 15 years ago. The AP.
The press picked it up.
Yes, the mainstream press picked it up and talked about it as if it deserved a response. Right? So there's been no answer from American Eagle. No one has responded. So like the first 48 hours of this is the reporting on an insane accusation fomented in some relatively obscure parts of the internet and magnified to a level that couldn't be ignored. And then it became this big giant thing. And it happened fast. And so what happened a couple nights ago is, I came home late and I was thinking about this, and it was so stupid, but it made me think of the spot I did with my mom. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. On top of everything else, you know what nobody's talking about? Nobody's talking about the fact that I beat American Eagle to the punch. 14 years ago, I did this with my mom.
Okay.
So I shared the PSA I did with my mom by a picture of Sydney Sweeney looking. It says, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And by the way, just for the record, she sure does.
Yep, I would agree.
I mean, no matter how you want to spell it. God bless her. She's having herself a moment.
Yep.
And I wrote these words. I called it gene therapy with a J. Long before the Nazis and American Eagle began promoting the master race in a series of commercials celebrating good genes with a G, with a little help from a hot model wearing some good jeans with a J, I was doing the same thing for another famous denim provider, hoping to capture the attention of millions of white people. I refer, of course, to the bigots over at Lee Jeans, who asked me to help them raise some money for the American Cancer Society. Specifically, as the official celebrity ambassador of Denim Day 2011, I was asked to announce a very promising breakthrough in gene therapy, with a G, and then urge Americans to forego the purchase of another pair of jeans, with a J, that they probably didn't need, and instead donate the cost of those jeans to the American Cancer Society. I said sure, but only if I could do it in a way that would please Adolf Hitler. No problem, they said. Go for it. So I called my mother, an avowed white supremacist and breast cancer survivor, who taught me all I know about eugenics. We filmed the PSA later that week, and the bigots over at Lee Jeans put it on the air 14 years ago. In it, you'll notice I'm not wearing any pants and flaunting my jeans in a way that would have made the Fuhrer proud. In other words, you'll see me doing the same thing that MSNBC, the New York Times, and countless scolds across the internet have accused Sydney Sweeney of doing, accusations that, it must be noted, have led to an unprecedented level of free publicity that's turned American Eagle into the latest Wall Street darling. Perhaps, had the mainstream media been this diligent in 2011, those bigots over at Lee Jeans would have raised enough money to cure breast cancer once and for all. Oh, well, maybe next time.
Now, that is, I can see where your mom, if she wasn't keeping track of what's going on, was just a little off-put.
Michael, I'm not a white supremacist. Right. Why would you say that? Why would you call those nice people at Lee Jeans bigots? And so I explained it to her. I walked her through it, and now she gets it. And happily, if you go through the thousands of comments, most of the people on my page also get it. Hallelujah. Yeah. Amen.
And hopefully most Americans get it. But I do have to point out something, Mike, and I think you are aware of this, that you were not the first one to do this.
No.
You were not the first to conflate jeans with a J and jeans with a G. The first person to do it for another jean company, namely Calvin Klein, was...
That'd be Brooke Shields. And she killed it.
She nailed it.
She killed it. And you know what? There was some outrage back then, but it wasn't about any of this. It was just about, gosh, she's awfully young, and she's lying on the floor, putting on her jeans, talking about this same weird conflation between a G and a J. But, I mean, once upon a time, there was a sense of humor. There was a sense of irony. There was all these things that, look, I think, I read National Review, along with Mother Jones. I read them all.
Right. Uh-huh.
But I think Charlie Cook and Beckett Adams both made some really great points. They're exhausted by this. They hate the fact that they're writing about it, but they have to write about it. Because really, like if you really want to unpack it and really ruffle some feathers, you can start to draw some lines, I think, between the outrage around this commercial and the fact that American Eagle went for it anyway with the defunding of NPR and PBS. You can really think about a lot of the culture wars that have been going on and start to see the cracks in the armor, right? And this all of a sudden, as crazy and weird as it sounds, feels like a tipping point.
Well, I think the culture war, the front on the culture war is shifting.
Did you literally just put your hands out like this in front of your chest as if to indicate?
She had huge tracts of land. No, that was this. They're moving forward.
Yeah, sure.
The line is moving. Mm-hmm. The Overton window is also expanding.
Explain what that means to folks, just in case. Because people who don't understand satire might not be up to speed on the Overton window.
Okay, so the Overton window is basically what is, in a nutshell, what is acceptable to discuss in public, what the public will tolerate and what they won't. And for a time, the Overton window shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. It's like, well, you can't say that. Oh, no, you can't say that. The thought police were everywhere, just correcting. It was like, oh, that was sort of the politically correct era, the PC era. And people fought, pushed back against it, and they were beat down. But now it's opened up a little bit more. And there is room for humor. I believe the biggest reason that it did open up was when there's two things, two companies, giant companies who are responsible for the Overton window being as wide as it is now. And those two companies are Spotify and Netflix. Spotify, because when the Karens of the world were like, you got Joe Rogan on there. That's no good. And, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, were like, oh, take our music off of there. Spotify didn't back down. They went, okay, we'll take your music off.
Just David Crosby, by the way. Don't drag poor Stephen Stills and Graham Nash into that madness.
I stand corrected. And the same thing happened with Netflix with
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle, of course, yeah. And they were like, no, he did it. We're leaving it up,
So it's so interesting. It does feel like, I mean, for people who are kind of in this and paying attention to this, i.e., not my mom, God bless her, at 87, she's got better things to do.
Yeah.
But we kind of live in the immediacy of that world. And
Right.
and for me, making content, doing ads, dealing with advertisers, I mean, that Overton window thing is constantly being weighed and measured and evaluated. In fact, I mean, you're right. I ripped off Brooke Shields, and American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney ripped off me and Lee Jeans
Yep.
because there are no new ideas in advertising.
Yeah.
Actually,
how many times did Carl's Jr. make the same commercial with Paris Hilton, with Kate Upton, who else? Kim Kardashian and Alex Earl, who was an influencer. That's a recent one that just played on the Super Bowl in 2025.
Well, it's kind of like a lot of the backlash feels like, hey, wait a minute, didn't you guys get the memo that we're no longer celebrating beauty, we're no longer celebrating sex appeal, and we're no longer doing ads that could be found humorous? We don't do that anymore. Don't you guys understand that now models on the covers of certain magazines don't look like models? It's like, don't you guys understand that we've completely reimagined all the standards of beauty and health and attractiveness? And this ad all of a sudden comes out, and it's like, well, wait a minute. They didn't get the memo. Something must be done.
Well, the Overton window went back and forth. The same people who gave us Brooke Shields, the Calvin Klein, the same people who gave us Brooke Shields, struggling to put on her jeans on the floor, gave us the picture of the two.
Look at you tiptoeing around the obvious things, that the people on the cover of the magazine were the opposite of what used to sell magazines, and then they became the standard.
Yeah. Do you know the picture that I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. I feel like it's two women, both well north of 300 pounds.
But one had a beard, I thought.
No, that may be true, too. And by the way, I think it's great to push things, and I think it's great to take swings, and maybe sometimes you miss, but at least it's not the same. But Freudian slip, by the way. A minute ago, you mentioned Kevin Kline instead of Calvin Klein. And Kevin Kline, of course, married Phoebe Cates, who came out of the swimming pool in Fast Times at Ridgemont High in that red bikini, which I don't want to speak for every other man listening, but if you saw the film, that image is still seared into your retina. And you can file it under inappropriate, R-rated, maybe even pornography. It arose by any other name. But these images, whether they exist in film or advertising, whatever it is, you don't need to like it, and I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying that isn't it crazy the way you call it the Overton window, I call it the Wheel of Fortuna, and it spins. It's like the wheel of fortune, and you just never know what's going to pop up. And now all of a sudden it's okay, maybe, to put an ad like that on the national TV. At least that's what the country appears to be saying.
One of I think the greatest of these types of ads was, do you remember? There's a convertible pulls up, jean shorts, white tank top. Cindy Crawford gets out,
Oh my God!
walks over to a Pepsi machine, pushes the button, takes a sip, and these two young boys are looking over the fence, and they're just gobsmacked. Their jaws are down around their navels. And do you remember what they say?
No, but I remember the look on their faces.
Right. Well, the one goes, wow, that is the best looking Pepsi can I've ever seen. And the other guy goes, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great commercial.
Well, the times, they are changing. The wheel spins. Everything old is new again. There are no new ideas. By the way, that Lee Jeans commercial I was talking about, not the PSA with my mom, but do you remember the one I did?
Oh, yes.
It was 15 years ago, right?
Eyes up here.
Eyes up, right?
Yeah,
so the camera starts on my feet, and I say, eyes up here, like I'm all that in a bag of chips.
Sure.
And then I talk about how Lee jeans, along with being soft and comfortable and tough, I'm told by my girlfriend that they make my butt look good. So this is the line in the spot.
Right.
Well, what you don't know is that there are two girls in the spot. And as I'm talking and walking down the sidewalk, I walk past these two girls. And in the spot, they're both kind of checking me out, right? And the line is one of the girls stops me, reaches out, grabs my belt buckle, and says,
Belt loop. Yeah.
"Yeah,
one
my
of the
belt.
loops
Yeah,
of- yeah.
belt buckle would have been a bit much, I suppose."
Just a bridge too far. Yeah.
No, she's behind me, and she's sitting down, and she reaches up, and she grabs my belt loop, and she tugs it, and I turn around, and she says, "Looking good, Mike." And I say, "Thanks." And I look back to the camera and say, "That's not my girlfriend." Friendly, though.
Yeah, right.
So it's a fun little beat. And we shoot it maybe 4 times. And the girl who pulls on my belt loop is very good. She's very funny. And for the record, she's about 5'9", blonde-haired, and white. This is relevant because in the background, there's another woman, very attractive, darker hair, darker skin. And she doesn't have any lines. She's just kind of standing there looking at my butt. Right? So we get the shot and everything's good. And I forget if it was the director, the producer, the copywriter, who had no business being on a set on an ad that I wrote anyway, whatever, different story. Whoever it was, not at all, came over and said, just to have it, it might be good if we put the African American lady in the seat and have her reach out and pull your belt loop and say, "Looking good, Mike." And I said, that's fine. I mean, personally, I don't see color, but whatever you guys need to do. And then, "Oh, okay. We should just do it to have it." So we do it, and we film it, and she's terrific too. So now I'm out of the sketch. The editor gets it, and the client and everybody decides, okay, we're going to go with the black woman. Great. And fine, it's funny. And then later, after it airs, so I'm on a set shooting another spot for these guys, and everybody's kind of congratulating themselves for the incredible diversity and inclusion. This is 15 years ago. That's incorporated into this spot. Like, it's just so great that you are like complimenting and interacting with this woman of color. And I'm like, yeah. You know what else is interesting? The way I look to the camera after it and tell the viewer, "That's not my girlfriend."
See, they were Nazis.
I.e., no.
I
Wouldn't catch me dating, something like that. And they were horrified. Like, I wouldn't think of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I said, what you did was you put a woman of color in a chair and had her reach out unsolicited and start yanking on my clothes and telling me that my butt looked good. And I made her black.
Getting
Are you
all
happy?
handsy. Yeah, right.
My God, when I think about the way advertising has changed and the way copywriters and the way agencies and production companies and everybody, it's just, you're so right. That Overton window, it doesn't even go up and down. It's like it's on a gimbal. It just goes.
It's like a xylophone. Sometimes it goes out, and then sometimes it gets smaller, bigger, smaller.
Just don't know. But you know what that was? That whole experience in that ad was it was my first real look. And by the way, but these guys at Lee Jeans were terrific, really wonderful people, and so generous. And that campaign with my mom, that thing raised
Did really well. Yeah.
well, and not just us, but the ones that came before it. In total, they raised close to $100 million for breast
That's
cancer.
amazing. That's
It
great.
worked. It was great. But when you look at the humble brag, which was another expression that didn't exist, right, until like 5 minutes ago, or virtue signaling. Like these expressions, I think, are relatively new, but the tendency, the desire, man,
Yeah.
that's been with us forever. And it's I guess you just have to live long enough to see the wheel spin enough to go, oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go back to, we're here now. This is where we're going now.
Well, you know where we were in like 1965?
Well,
Don't be stupid, be a schmotty. Come and join the Nazi party.
it was funny. That's the producers. That's Mel Brooks. Yes. Mel could do that. He was in on the joke, and people, I mean, we say it all the time. I mean, could you do that today? Well, you know what? Maybe. No, maybe.
Now.
Maybe now. Last year, no way. Could you make Blazing Saddles? No way. Could you make Tropic Thunder?
What?
No.
Now, I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that they're exploring making the sequel to Tropic Thunder.
Well, I would
Because
watch that
the
movie.
Overton window is
Opens.
open a little bit more at this point.
So how do you think about the Overton window then with regard to production value? Because I think it also happens there. So, whether
Anything
it's the
goes.
PSA or these campaigns, like I have no idea what American Eagle paid for Sydney Sweeney or to go on the air with that thing, but it was a lot.
I'm sure it was a lot, yeah.
But it wasn't elaborate. Like she's not in
No.
some giant, she's not parachuting. She's not pulling her own chute. It's just her and the camera. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which speaks to my point, sort of, which is companies are spending less and less and less and less on big ad campaigns. So, I mean, what's the Overton window doing to advertising, not just in content, but in cost? And what is AI going to do to advertising? What's AI going to do to Hollywood? Spoiler alert, end it.
Man, I'm telling you, I have seen some things on the interwebs that are just like, what? My favorite is like the biblical characters, like David, as an influencer with his camera. So he's talking to his camera and he's getting ready to fight Goliath, or Jonah inside the whale.
Have you seen the American Revolution, guys?
Oh, that is the best. That is great too. Yes, that's amazing.
But it's horrifying. I mean, look, you and I are as old as we are, and we've done what we've done in this crazy business. But if you're like 22 or 23 years old and you're thinking about acting or
How you gonna make a living?
copywriting,
Wow.
or screenwriting,
No. Ugh.
nope,
Yeah.
I don't see it. Look, and here's the Overton window again with MicroWorks and with the skilled trades and with how out of fashion has it been? I'll tell you how. We'll be 17. MicroWorks turned 17 on Labor Day. Thank you. Take your seats. Until this year, the Overton window was closed with regard to the upside of learning a skill that's in demand, going to a trade school, not going to a 4-year college.
Wasn't closed. It was a very, 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 very small
The
opening.
aperture was skinny,
Very good.
right?
Yep.
Very, very skinny aperture. Now it's wide. How wide? I'll tell you how wide. We had this year in our enrollment program for work ethic scholarships 10 times the applicants that we had a year ago.
Yep.
10 times. We are awarding $5,050,000 in work ethic scholarships to men and women who want to pursue a skill that's in demand. Mm-hmm. Here's what the Overton window is really doing. I spent 9 years out of the 17 hawking our scholarship program by going out into the world and telling people how hard it was to give away $1 million in work ethic scholarships to people who wanted to be plumbers and steam fitters and pipe fitters and welders and electricians and so forth. Now, 10 times the applicants. I'm not doing anything different, dude. I'm not doing anything different.
The headlines caught up to your smack.
The window opened. The wheel of Fortuna stopped in a place it hasn't been in a while. So suddenly, hot chicks are selling jeans, and plumbers are in. Got a cough.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand by while Mike expels a bit of phlegm and some nasty air that's been stuck in his lungs for a while. Here he is. He's coming back. Are you okay, Mike?
Wow.
Now, you're on your way into this illness, aren't you?
Yeah,
You're not at the end of it. You're at the beginning of it.
about halfway.
Oh, yeah?
I can't tell. Right now, it feels pretty bad.
Maybe we should wrap this up.
You know, I was wondering how we were going to land the plane, but I suppose me dropping dead.
Crashing is a way to land it.
Yeah, that hot take ended with Mike shuffling off his mortal coil.
Oh, shit, man. You don't sound good.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, full disclosure, that's not why we have an actual podcast this week. Sick as a dog, but I got all this stuff on my mind. Wow. All right, I'm going to be okay. Thank you.
Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Before it's too late.
Because this window is closing.
The Overton window just closed on my larynx. Hold on.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.